Oh, cool. How many are not from Colorado?
Rise of the humans.
Have fun. Creativity, strategic thinking, problem solving.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for coming. This is our session, Flow Like an Eagle, quantify how your automations keep time from slipping away. First order of business, of course, is a big thanks to the sponsors who make it possible for all of us to be here, learning from each other, and having this awesome time in community. So thanks, sponsors. You guys are awesome. We'll introduce ourselves to you now. My name is Jessica Sharley. I use she, her pronouns, and I've been with CU Boulder since 2019, working on an awesome team of ops folks, admins, BAs, developers, and other fantastic pals. And I had started my Salesforce journey at a nonprofit where I was for 2 years, before that as an academic, and I'm looking forward to getting that second Ranger Star later this year.
And my name is Kelly Stritzinger. I use she, her pronouns. I have also been at CU Boulder, but only since 2022. But I have known about Salesforce since 2014. I first learned about it when I was working for the state of Colorado, and I'm excited to now have my admin certification as well as my business analyst certification and to work with all the CU team that's here today. And I also have the Ranger status, but I think I got it right before the 2-star Ranger thing came out, so now I can never be complete. Our agenda today, so obviously we have excellence in student success as one of our main goals, but also today we will be going through our inspiration for this whole project. It's a Salesforce bed article that one of our colleagues found and all of us have been inspired by. We'll go into the impact of this work on our stakeholders, but also on our team, the basics of the configuration needed, some of the challenges and also successes, mostly successes that we had. And then we get to finally show you our beautiful data that's already been coming in. We just launched this like 7 days ago.
So yeah, this awesome article came out in November of 2021, and a number of members of our team were really inspired by it. And the idea that one could actually put together a system in an ongoing way to quantify how our work is affecting our stakeholders, saving them time, saving them money, and just really be able to show off the fact that we do a lot of work in the background that they don't have any idea is even going on, but in fact it is making their lives better. They don't need to see how the sausage is made, so they don't need to see like the flows, they don't need to see how we're doing it, but it's really nice to be able to share with them some really concrete data, numbers, pretty graphs, and that kind of thing, just to share how much value we're actually bringing to their world. And we're flownatics, and we just wanted to make more flows.
So the broader impact of this, in addition to what we know as Salesforce admins and developers on the back end, this has implications for our stakeholders, our leadership, everybody at our organization, and also likewise for your own context in the work that you're doing, you could find similar impact. Just to be specific, some of the things that we implement in our org are meeting automations for our student advising appointments. So with our flow automations, we can see with this project how we're saving time. We send out automatic meeting notifications. It saves time for the advisor, but then the student doesn't have to create their own appointment reminder, so that saves them time. Then our team has more time on the back end because of the time we're saving, we're not having to do things manually. We can look more into our enhancement requests and make our user experience even better than it already is. So now we're gonna hop on to the Magic School Bus. Everybody knows that TV show, right? If you watched it as a kid. But not to be afraid if you're a flow beginner. I consider myself a flow beginner, I have a working knowledge, as Gilda said, so she has a very extreme working knowledge of it. But just the basics of what a subflow is, if you know the concept of flow, it's just a container for your most common automations that you can package up and keep reusing, not have to rebuild it each time. So we're gonna go into the details of our auto-launched flow parlor configuration, and then we'll show you some visuals of it for the people that are visual.
Okay, let's get on the bus.
Yes. So the basics of the pieces that we had to put together, configuration, this was not the most time-consuming piece. You could probably do this in one day with your own org, but we needed to create one new custom object. We called it Flow Magic because our flows are very magical. At least one field that was naming the flows that are calling the subflow. Then we had a custom field minutes saved to show the number of minutes each flow is saving as it runs. And then we have our custom field for service, which is how we categorize the type of work that each flow is doing as it runs. And some of the flows can run more than one service as they're tallying up the points. So then we create the subflow, which I'll show you in detail on the next slides. And then probably the most time-consuming piece was just doing our inventory of what flows we actually have. We have a lot more than we thought we had. There's like 30 or 40 of them in there. And then we had to document, of course, the time that each one of them saves, and that's where we brought in our stakeholders. So in your own org implementation, if you want to try this, you want to bring in any stakeholders that are working with end users, and also people on your ops team that know the back-end side. So have everybody there, and then the next step is piecing it together. Jess is going to go into this for us and go into looking at both a simple example and then a more complex flow that has more branches. And we were even able to simplify from what we learned about in the Salesforce Ben article, make it even more simple. So where you can be simple, stay simple. And then we get to the fun part of building reports, testing, and deployment. Thank you to Stephanie and our ops team for all the time that you helped us get this done in time for this presentation so that we would have some data to show everybody. And here we go, open up the hood of our auto-launched subflow. So it's pretty simple. It just has no start conditions, and it has one create record element. It's just creating one record. And then within the create record element, this is where we're assigning our input variables or values here. So we have a text value. Sorry, this is very tiny, but don't worry, we can send out these slides later. We have a text value for our flow name. Again, that's the flow that's triggering the subflow. Then we have a number value for the minute saved by that flow run. And then our service value, which we made as a pick list. And we have 4 values that we narrowed down as part of our analysis process when we were deciding which categories to use in order to make it more scalable. We went with broader categories. So we have business process automations, case automations, meeting automations, and then communication automations.
There's one we didn't add, but we wanted to.
Emotional labor. I think all of those other categories include a little bit of emotional labor, though.
Yeah, so maybe it's already in the total. So I'm going to just walk you through where we sprinkled flow magic into some of our existing flows and what that looks like. So you could see this is a really simple flow, right? It starts out, it has a quick decision, and then either it sends one email template or another email template, and that's it. So we're going to use static values in this one, and we just dump both of those paths into the flow magic subflow. Here's where we call the subflow. It looks almost exactly like the subflow itself. For an obvious reason, we're just dumping these same values in there, and it's going to use them to create that flow magic record. So we have the text value, that is the flow name that's calling the subflow. In this case, it's a static value for the number. It's only ever going to save 1 minute when it runs, so we just put a 1 there. And then our pick list value in this case was communication. Those toggles on the right are where you say, yeah, I want to send this one to the subflow. This is a little more complicated. It's got a couple of different options for the record as it passes through the flow. This flow is, on the bottom part, it's always going to send an email, but it's optionally going to send a text. So it could save 1 minute or it could save 2 minutes. So how do we total that up? How do we make this flow work either way? If it does send a text, it's going to be 2. If it doesn't send a text, it's going to be 1. We need a variable. We need some assignments. We also used a constant in this one to hold the service value. You don't have to do that, but we did. It comes in more handy when you might have multiple services happening in one different flow or one same flow. So variable is a data type of number. The most important thing is that it's available for output, so we can send that value into the subflow. As a record travels through, we hit this assignment element after it sends a text, and that's just going to add 1 to the variable. So it's really tiny, but in that box under assignment 1, you can see that the variable is called on the left, and then the operator is add, and the value is 1. So each time it hits this assignment, it's going to add 1 to our variable. Tootle along down here, it sends an email and adds another 1 to the variable. We now have 2 hanging out in the variable, and we get to do flow magic. So when we call that subflow this time, again, the text value of the meeting, I keep saying of the meeting name because it's meeting invitee is the name of the flow, but of the flow name. And then the flow magic minute saved is my variable, which now equals 2, but again, could equal 1. And then the constant, which calls up the flow magic service that we already put in there at the beginning. So what I have next is actually just a real-time screen capture demo of me adding this subflow to a little flow that you saw earlier, so you can see just how quick it is, how easy it is, and what the process looks like. So first order of business is I'm going to copy the name of this parent flow so I can paste it in later and not worry about any typos. I'm going to come down here and choose the subflow element. And that's just going to pop up a screen where I can choose the flow I want. In this case, it's Flow Magic. I just have to search for it. And when I select it, it'll offer me all those same values. Give it a label, tab across to get the API name, and then come down to set the input value. So yes, I want the flow name, Control V. Come over here, and it turns out you have to click it twice. And in this case, we're just using a static value, so that's 1, but we also could call a variable there. And here, again, static value, I'm just going to type in business process automation for the service. And then we're done with that element. And again, we had 2 branches in this flow, so now I need to connect the second branch to the same subflow element. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can just dump both paths right into that subflow. That's it. Now we're going to save. And we have a convention to just add to the description whenever we've sprinkled Flow Magic on something so that we can see at a glance where Flow Magic has been implemented in case of need of debugging, troubleshooting, or just to marvel at how wonderful we are. Probably the last one is the most important. So it saves, and then it's going to give us a warning that the context in which the subflow and the parent flow run are different. That's okay. It's not going to cause any problems. I just want to call it out. It looks scary, but it's not. And then we can activate. So that was like 1 minute and 40 seconds. So challenges and successes that we had implementing this project. Not going to lie to you, it was mostly a lot of winning and a lot of fun. The one thing we did run into is the obvious issue of you can't put subflows in before save flows. So we had a lot of before save flows, right, acting on the same record. We want to create a flow that, I think that, what do they call it? Fast field update? Yeah. So, you know, that can optimize your flow, but if you call a subflow in a before save flow, you know, when's your record going to save, right? People are going to get cranky. It's going to slow down. But there's an idea out there. You can scan that right now or use that bit.ly link when we send you our slides to upvote that idea. Surely the geniuses at Salesforce can find a way around that for us. In our case, we ended up some that we thought were fairly inconsequential, just making them after save flows in order to be able to quantify them in this way. So a challenge and an awesome thing is we had a lot of flows, so testing and deployment is a lot. Again, shout out to our colleagues in ops for not only testing these flows, but also regression testing, making sure we didn't break anything when we sprinkled the Flow Magic dust on there. Things we learned, variables not needed on the simple flows. Simple one, all we had to do was go in there and put in the values. That made it a lot quicker. And then some parent flows do have multiple functions, so we might need to incorporate an assignment in a loop. We might need to have multiple options for the way that the flow is constructed, but that's okay. We can handle that with some pretty simple elements that you saw there. And the best part is the results are starting to come in.
Low-key, the very best part is being able to refresh this dashboard like 10 times a day, because that's what I've been doing. So instead of doom scrolling, you should make one of these dashboards. But the first reports that we decided to make, we started with just total minutes saved, or total hours saved. Jess and I have talked about total years saved, because we're just tallying them up so much in 7 days already. We did runs by flow, so you can see the number of record count. It's okay. The record count of each flow and how many times it runs, another useful metric that we don't already have. Then we have our Flow Magic minutes saved by service and minutes saved by flow. Magnified so that you can see it slightly better. So these are, I like to call these tornado charts because they just look so pretty. So it's really nice to look at them, and you can see our meeting automations are the ones that are saving us the most time. But again, in terms of scalability, you can make more fields to analyze anything that you want to in your own org. So you could even analyze by like the department that someone works in or who made the flow if you want to see whose flows are the most efficient. So yeah, we're very excited to see this, and we've obviously, if somebody wants to sing that song, we're on our way to saving 5,000, 2,500. Yeah,
and we've only had a third of our flows live for less than a week.
Yes.
So I think we're going to have to find a way to archive Flow Magic records because we are creating them by the bucket load.
Maybe they'll magically archive themselves.
Maybe. So thanks so much. That's a wrap for us, and we're happy to take any questions.
And then if you would like, if while people have questions, we keep trying to see if there are any eagles in this eagle nest cam, and maybe one will appear while we're talking.
I have a question. For the mass mailer one, is it calculating the bulk process, or is it like you're trying to send 1,000 emails, which saves 1,000 minutes, or is it 1,000 emails and that maybe takes so many?
This one is running on each record.
send.
So it's saying it's using mass mailer to send the email, but each time it runs through there, it's saving a person a minute.
That's awesome.
Mass mailer is just the delivery mechanism. Yeah. Yeah.
For like scaling it, you said you have like 35 or 40 flows, but if you have like much more, did you thought in a way how to implement this that, I know it's triggered, but each time a flow runs and you don't have to insert it manually in each run, in each flow?
That is not something we have done. But if you do it, tell us how.
How many flows do you have?
I would say like 100 to 150.
Whoa.
So it's, I don't know, really like the idea and how you can like use words that make sense to people that are non-Salesforce, like hours you save. But it's, challenging to implement.
Right. Just trying to dump it into all of those flows, especially if your flows are fairly complicated. Right. The quick ones are fast, but the other ones can take a little bit of fiddling.
How did you land on one? It seems like a lot of these would save more than 1 minute.
Do you want to talk about our sort of
I think,
discernment process?
we had conversations with folks on our team and then ourselves, and we could have gone with the more detailed method of actually doing a stopwatch and trying to do it, but I think some of these automations have been around a while and maybe they've never been done manually, so some of it, it was our best guess in the time that we have, but these can be adjusted as we go too, like later on if we decide this is taking more time than it seems like it is, we can adjust it.
Yeah.
Like that would be on the low end.
Yeah, I think we also, we did try to be pretty conservative in our estimates, so we weren't like overselling it.
Yeah.
It's like impressive enough, right? We don't need to overdo it, but yeah.
But
thanks.
I think we did have some that were, like we looked at like 0.5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So you could do that.
Something similar that Salesforce Labs made on an after exchange called Process Automation Tracker.
Ooh.
And I'm the only person that's ever reviewed it. But what I found really useful, and I think you could probably use yours as a way, was I used it to track, is this flow being used? Or it's getting used across these elders as well. And so the creation of those records, you could be like, there's no records that have been created on this flow since
2 years.
6 months ago or whatever it was. And I found that really helpful for like identifying.
What's it called again?
Process Automation Tracker.
Process Automation Tracker.
I think it was more designed for Process Builder. I think yours is a little modern, but it had a minute saving feature that I never used.
Okay.
You just add one more field and it was like your track thing.
It's cool.
I don't know. So there's a lot.
Cool.
I'm just thinking
Yeah.
I don't know if someone else has to set up.
Is
But
that
yeah.
too new to, have you shown it to stakeholders or users, or do you see how
Not
it's
yet.
going to influence?
You guys are getting the
You're the
sneak
first.
preview.
Yeah, once we deploy all of our flows into production. or
Yeah,
our
we're
subflows.
still like a third of the way to deploying.
But that is the intent, is to be able to show stakeholders and help, because we know, but those folks don't know how many hours we're saving. So.
Yeah. Well, I think we're at time, and we need to give the next folks time to get set up. Oh, we do have more time? Oh, amazing. Genius.
Oh, cool.
Well, anyone who wants to hang out, let's hang out. We're happy to take more questions, but I think, folks who want to go to something else could go without feeling like they're being rude.
If you leave your email address with us, we can email you our slides. I'm sure we'll have a way to do that after some other way too.
Good job, ladies.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Thanks.